Asoka the Geek here, and for today's episode of my podcast, I have a couple of topics that I am going to cover. So I'm going to talk about the Mandalorian season finale, and also talk about some comments I've seen about fan service, and just go on a whole tangent about fan service and what it means to me. I'm also going to talk about the HBO Max situation and what I think about the all the 2021 Warner Brothers slate only being on HBO and in theaters, so not only on HBO, but you know what I mean. And then I'm just going to talk about some random news that I've heard about, like all the new Star Wars shows, all the new Marvel shows. Not really much about the new DC shows because there really aren't any new DC shows noteworthy enough to talk about. There's a couple of things that come into mind, but we'll get to that. So first, let's talk about The Mandalorian. Now, if you have not seen The Mandalorian, do not watch this podcast until you watch The Mandalorian, unless you want to be spoiled. Especially if you have not seen the season finale of The Mandalorian, I highly recommend you do not watch this podcast until you watch that season finale, because I am going to spoil it quite a bit here. So I'm giving you fair warning. Don't watch this podcast until you watch the Mandalorian finale. So I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, full-on Mandalorian conversation now. So I want to talk about the finale, but also really want to talk about fan service. Because after the Mandalorian finale aired, I saw a lot of comments from people. Maybe not a lot, I saw comments saying that it was a lot of fan service, and I just want to talk about that whole topic in general. Anyways, just to give you a little bit of background on me as a Star Wars fan. So I'm a Trekkie, a hardcore Trekkie. Behind this camera, there's like 40 Star Trek ships at least. I love Star Trek. I used to go to Star Trek conventions. I'm a full-on Star Trek nerd. But, of course, I love Star Wars as well. Not as much as Star Trek. It's kind of like how I'm a DC fan, but I still have a lot of respect for Marvel. If you can see my Marvel comics over here to the left, I still appreciate Marvel and enjoy Marvel, even though I'm a DC fanatic. So for me, it's Star Trek, and DC. That's where my geek loyalties lie. I started watching Star Wars movies in the late 90s, right around the time right when they were re-released into theaters the first time, before the prequel trilogy, when they did like that, the special editions, where they added all those needless special effects. That's when I got into Star Wars. Excuse me, I'm going to grab some water while I talk here. Excuse me, so that's around the age I started watching Star Wars. And I love it. I love A New Hope. I love Return of the Jedi. I love The Empire Strikes Back. They're fun, simple space adventures with cool, mythology with the Jedi and the heroics, and Darth Vader is freaking great. I love them. Even though I got into them when I was a little older, I still really love Star Wars. So I'm a big fan. The prequels, I like a lot of the prequels, but I was also disappointed by the prequels quite a bit. Loved Revenge of the Sith. Attack of the Clones had a lot of good stuff. The Phantom Menace, Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, they were all fantastic. Jake Lloyd, though, man, he was not a very good young Darth Vader. So, yeah, that's where I stand on the Phantom Menace. The sequel trilogies, loved Force Awakens. Like a lot of The Last Jedi, it has my favorite Luke Skywalker scene when he faces down the army and Kylo Ren. Loved that part. Some of it was kind of weird with like Finn's storyline. I thought that was kind of pointless in The Last Jedi, and some interesting choices they made. And I didn't really care for Luke being so bitter. And just kind of all of the original characters, Luke, Han, and Leia, they all kind of had crappy lives after Return of the Jedi. I mean, Leia and Han, they had a son, and he turned evil. Luke failed him and went into exile. It's like, dude, that's not really what I wanted. I wanted them to live all happily ever after. So that's kind of a bummer, the choices they made there, but I still enjoyed a lot of it. The Rise of Skywalker, I saw it in the theaters. I liked some of it. It felt very schizophrenic, if that's the right word, just all over the place. All of a sudden you got Lando in there, and even though I love Lando in Empire Strikes Back, I was like, okay, here's Lando, and he didn't really add much to the movie. And I loved Kylo Ren. I think it's cool that he was redeemed, but then he just dies. And yeah, anyways, I tried to watch the Rise of Skywalker again after it was released on Blu-ray or 4K, whatever, at the beginning of this COVID, and I couldn't even get through it. I watched like first 10 minutes and I got bored and turned it off. So I really need to give that another shot. Which brings us to The Mandalorian. So when The Mandalorian was first announced, I didn't really have any idea what it was. Again, I'm a Trekkie, so I don't really know much about Star Trek mythology. Yeah. I never watched the cartoons, which I heard were phenomenal, so I didn't know what a Mandalorian was. When I started seeing images of it, he looked like Boba Fett. I know, of course, who Boba Fett is, and I like Boba Fett. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's Boba Fett, but like a younger version? I didn't really get it, honestly. And then I started watching, and I loved it. Freaking amazing show. Love Baby Yoda like everyone else, and it's a great show. And what I really love about The Mandalorian is it's not overly complicated. It's a very simple story, good versus evil, a bounty hunter doing the right thing. You have a cute little character, and it really reminds me of like A New Hope and the original Star Wars trilogy. It feels like Star Wars. That's what I really liked about it. It was just very simple, and the production values were excellent. It looks like a movie every week, and I look forward to it. So flash forward to the finale, the season finale of season 2. I'm watching it. Then you see that X-wing approach, and you're like, okay, that's cool. Then you see that it's definitely a Jedi, and all along I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if it was Luke, but I was like, no way. They're not gonna bring in Luke Skywalker. And lo and behold, it's freaking Luke Skywalker, and I was ecstatic. That's like Return of the Jedi. Luke Skywalker in his prime, and then the scene with Mando and Baby Yoda. That was beautiful. It was just amazing. And Luke, CGI was okay. It wasn't the best. But I think they pulled it off, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. I was excited. So immediately after I watched the finale, I, of course, went online to get other people's reaction. And I saw some tweets for some people saying, I don't know, some comments about, well, there's a lot of fan service in the Mandalorian finale, or, I wish Star Wars would do other things than the Skywalker family, and blah, blah, blah. And I just don't really understand the whole fan service and wanting to do new things with Star Wars and other franchises conversation. So, in my mind, Star Wars begins with A New Hope. Everything in A New Hope is what I expect from Star Wars. You have the Skywalkers, you have Luke Skywalker, you have Han Solo, you have lightsabers, you have the Millennium Falcon, you have the aesthetic that it's set up. So it really boggles my mind that anyone could be upset that Luke Skywalker showed up in The Mandalorian. I wish he showed up in every episode of every Star Wars show from now on, because to me that is Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is Star Wars. Obi-Wan, all those characters that were established in A New Hope, that is what Star Wars is about. So to call it fan service, I think, is nonsense. I think it's what the fans want, and it's what they should get, because if you go to watch something with Star Wars in the title, you expect those things. I'm really surprised if anyone watches anything with Star Wars in the title and is annoyed if like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or any of those characters show up, because it's a part of Star Wars. That's why you like Star Wars, right? It just kind of goes to this whole conversation of, if that people want to see different things from Star Wars. I don't really think they do. I think the Star Wars fans like seeing all the things from the original movies, and that's what I want to see. I don't go to Star Wars movies to see, like, I don't know, deep political intrigue, or I don't know, whatever it is. I want to see lightsabers. I want to see space adventure. I want to see Luke Skywalker. So I just don't understand that argument. And again, if I watch something with Star Wars in the title, and those elements appear, I'm not going to be annoyed by it. I'm going to be happy, because that's what Star Wars is. I'll compare it to my love, Star Trek. Star Trek has been around since the 60s. They have the original series, then they had a cartoon, then they had The Next Generation, and they had some movies in between then. But even in Star Trek The Next Generation, the very first episode, you had Dr. McCoy from the original series. Throughout The Next Generation, even though it was about a new crew and a new version of the Enterprise, They would always have callbacks to the original series every now and then. They had Spock in an episode, Scotty, and that's not fan service. It's all part of the same universe, and that's why you watch Star Trek, is for those characters and those elements. Even Deep Space Nine, which took place on a space station, was still about a crew. It was still about Starfleet. It was about exploration and humanity, and even that show had callbacks to the original series and even Next Generation and other Star Trek shows. So I guess my point is, if you want something different, go watch a different franchise. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. So yeah, for Star Wars, please bring back Luke again, bring back Han. I would love to see more stories with those characters, especially after like Return of the Jedi up until, you know, the Force Awakens time period. Recast Luke. They did it with Han, and even though the Solo movie was kind of, I would say, convoluted, it was just too much. I love the guy who played Solo, and I'd love to see him again. So yeah, more power to the Mandalorian. Anyways, congratulations to Jon Favreau and the whole Mandalorian team, because man, COVID sucks for everyone. Even I thank God, knock on wood and plastic, no one close to me, too close to me actually, has gotten sick. One of my best buddies, he has COVID, and a few other people I know, but they're all going to pull through and everything. But it's been a shitty year. So The Mandalorian was definitely a bright spot. It's just been a joy to turn it on every Thursday and be entertained and talk to my other geeky friends about it. And it's been a joy. It's such a great show. Not as good as Star Trek. Just throw that out there. You guys should be watching Star Trek Discovery. That's a brilliant show, and I'm glad I still have a few episodes of that left at least. Okay, so moving on from The Mandalorian, the next thing I wanted to chat about was, not really chat since I'm talking to myself. Let's talk about HBO Plus. No, HBO Max. HBO Max, Disney Plus, blah, blah, blah. So HBO Max recently announced that all of Warner Brothers' 2021 slate is going to do a release on HBO Max as well as theaters. And that was huge news. Obviously, Wonder Woman is going to be on HBO Max on Christmas. And just my thoughts, 2021, even though we will have a vaccine, we do have a vaccine, and people will have it by then, I still think it's going to be a pretty quiet year at the movies. I don't think things are going to be back to normal. So Warner Brothers, they decided to, hey, let's use our slate to boost our HBO Max numbers. So I guess from that point of view, it's a good move. For them, I think the filmmakers were a little upset by it. And of course, me personally, I'm a big movie theater guy. My wife and I go to the movies at least twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, depending on what movies are out. So that is a big part of our lives, and I'm really sad I haven't been able to go to the movies. But 2021 sounds like it's going to be another year at home, so at least we'll have some good movies to watch on HBO Max. Super excited about Wonder Woman on Christmas Day. That's going to be something to look forward to, since we can't really see our families. We're going to go see them at a park. So that's sad, and it's going to be a rough day, but at least we'll have Wonder Woman to watch. So I really like that HBO Max deal. Then also, you guys have already heard about all these new Star Wars shows and Marvel shows that were announced at the investor panel, or whatever that is, investor meeting. All I can say is it all sounds great to me. If they make shows on at the same level of quality as The Mandalorian, and the Marvel shows spearheaded by Kevin Feige, it's all good stuff. I wish I was getting a lot of DC stuff and Star Trek stuff like this. Star Trek we're doing pretty good. We have a lot of shows. Actually, even on DC we have a lot of shows, but I would definitely am looking forward to more shows on HBO Max. And then on the DC front, the only thing that really comes to mind is we have the Snyder Cut coming out in March. That seems to be the official release date or window for the Snyder Cut. I'm super excited about it. I love the trailer, so I think that looks great. And then on the Superman and Lois TV show that's coming out, they revealed Superman's new costume. You guys can Google it. I'm sure you've seen it. I think it's a vast improvement over the Superman costume that he wore in Supergirl. But again, I'm not... The CW shows, I used to love them, but they've just really taken a dip in quality, in my opinion, over the last few years. So I am not excited about the Superman and Lois show. I'm going to give it a try, obviously, because I am a Superman fanatic. I just have a random Superman figure on my desk here. So I will definitely be watching it. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. And that's about it as far as like movie news and just random topics. Um, it's been a rough year for COVID. I've spent a lot of it in the shed of solitude where I work now, which has been great as far as having a nice workspace. I'm really lucky to have this. I hope that anyone who's listening to this, you guys made it through the year okay, and you guys are healthy and employed, and hopefully things will get better for the rest of us. But at least we always have our geeky entertainment to look to. I think that's why a lot of us like this stuff, is because it's escapism when it works, and it kind of takes us out of our reality. So that's why I love all the sci-fi and superhero stuff personally. But yeah, so at least we have that. At least it's a golden age to be a geek. So that's about it for this podcast. I think this might be the last podcast I do for this year. But I just want to thank you everyone who has listened for their support. I really appreciate it. I've had some amazing guests on this year. They've all been really kind and generous with their time, and I've enjoyed talking to all the people I've gotten a chance to speak to. And thank you all, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.